All right, guys, good evening and thanks for joining in. So this channel has purposely been created to educate anyone who comes on the page on economic related issues that has to do with economic development, human welfare, and growth of GDP of nations as a whole. So for today's discussion, we are basically going to look at what developing countries are doing wrong in promoting individual and national development. When we compare the development progress of the developed countries and then the developing country, we see such a vast difference. So there's definitely something wrong that developing countries are doing, are not something wrong that developing countries are doing. They are not doing something right. So we are here to discuss. And note that whatever we discuss here is not the main accepted points, or they are not the entirely accepted notion. We are here to express our views, but nonetheless, these views are based on facts and figures that we'll be presenting here. And more or less, these points also could be tested to prove that they are contributing factors that are causing the underdevelopment of some developing nations. In the course of the discussion, we'll be bringing in examples of some countries and key determinants that are causing the underdevelopment. So I have here with me today George Yabrefo Asante. He is a learned colleague of mine from University of Ghana, a very intelligent young man. George, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, the graph.
Okay, so based on the topic, among the factors that causes the development of developing countries has to do with corruption, poor governance, inadequate infrastructure, to name a few. But today we are going to concentrate or focus on um, this facet that has to do with unemployment and underemployment. So to begin with, I would like to seek your opinion on what the term unemployment or underemployment mean in your own, view.
Oh, okay. Thank you, my friend. Okay, to start with, unemployment as it is basically means that you don't have a job. Like you're not performing any economic activity. So that's what unemployment is. So it's like you are even to be classified as being unemployed, that means that you have to be actively looking for it and willing to work. But that means that you are looking for work, but you are not getting it. So unemployment is basically you not having a work. But with underemployment, it's a little bit different. That means that for this one, you have a work, but it is inadequate. So under employment means that you are being underutilized. So let's
Okay.
take it that you are in a workplace where you can be in a senior management role, but you are working under lower management. Or let's say you can work, let's say 8 hours a day, but you are working 4 hours a day. So this is a form of underemployment, but it's related to the unemployment because when the unemployment is high, it creates room for underemployment.
Okay. So going forward, can you maybe articulate more, because I think your voice is a bit down. And nonetheless, based on these definitions that you have given, can we classify countries like, for example, Ghana, China, South Africa, Nigeria to be in the same category of unemployment and underemployment? And if so, what would be the major reasons causing unemployment in such countries? Because the discussion today makes us understand that unemployment and underemployment are one of the major issues that affect developing countries. So if the first question is Ghana, China, South Africa, Nigeria be classified as countries, as developing countries facing huge unemployment rate or underemployment rate? And second question is, what will be the underlying reason to such, determinants to such unemployment and unemployment reasons?
Oh, okay. Okay. These countries are kind of unique on their own, but per the data or their statistical report, maybe with the unemployment figures, maybe you can classify them as, struggling with unemployment. Unemployment itself, countries are struggling with it, even if it's, small, it's still a problem. But with these countries, for instance, you take Ghana. Recently, with Ghana statistical report for the first 3 quarters in 2023, they are saying on average unemployment rate is 14.7%. This even using the annual income and expenditure survey. So in the face of it, even with this 14.7%, it will be higher. So yes, Ghana right now is having issues dealing with unemployment situation. When you come to South Africa, it seems South Africa has got one of the highest unemployment rate in the world. Because for them also as well, 2023 figures put them around 31.9, over 30%. You see, and likewise with Nigeria population, they are hovering around over 15%. China is also around 14%.
For
You see,
2023.
for 2023 figures. So for these countries, each and every one of them, one way or the other, is having issues to deal with unemployment. But the interesting thing is that every country is unique. Unemployment is kind of unique on its own, even though generally it's unemployment, but each one of them has got its own reasons for that. So if you take China, for instance, for China, per their data statistics, it says that every year people graduate from their university. It's almost every year, almost close to 10 million a year.
Okay.
So that means that if with their population over 1.4 billion, every year close to 10 million people are graduating from college, which is very, very big, because that means that every year there should be room for we have new entrants into the job market, 10 million. So it's an issue. But one thing about the Chinese economy is that the service sector employs more of the labor force. And it seems China is having issues with their services sector. And when it happens, so because now the students are undertaking programs geared towards those sector, but you also have students doing courses which is not needed at a point in time. So it's like majority of the students have focused on going to a specific sector, and that sector is also not generating enough. So you have the system struggling economically, small in terms of recently they are having these housing issues. So their kind of unemployment is kind of unique on its own.
Okay.
You see, so you have people like kind of skills mismatch, people
Hmm.
doing courses, but it's not needed at
Yeah.
that very point in time.
I think this is one of the major issues being faced by sub-Saharan African countries, especially,
Yeah,
whereby most of the educated youths would rather engage in white-collar jobs than to be engaged in either the services sector or even agriculture. But I think
yeah,
when it comes to China, especially, um, when you take Shanghai and Beijing, which is really a developed city, places like the rural part, like the northernmost part of Shanghai and somewhere in the east,
yeah.
where agriculture is, predominant, you wouldn't. I think unemployment in China, for example, is regional based because just as I'm saying, when you go to some of their agriculture regions, you would find unemployment to be on the low because most of these youths who remain or do not migrate to the cities eventually find themselves employed in such regions. But then again, a record from the World Bank database for a 5-year period indicates that, okay, let me cite 2022, for example, indicated that um, the unemployment, that is total percentage of the total labor force, unemployment as a total percentage of the labor force, Ghana had
Mhm.
about 3.5%. That was 2022. China had 4.9. South Africa, as you indicated, was the highest with 28.8, and Nigeria had 3.8. And based on these figures, would you say that high unemployment affect the overall economic growth and development of a country? How does high unemployment affect the overall economic growth and development of a country?
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Unemployment, at least the level of unemployment indicates, the also indicates the health of the economy. That means that the economy has got active people working. And when we take this simple analogy, when an individual gets job and is doing, he earns an income. On that income, that person pays taxes. That person also affect demand. And when an economy, for economy to grow and for an economy to you can move forward, there should be demand for something. And when there is demand, there's on the other side of it, that demand has to be served in terms of production of what they need. And for economy to move forward, the engine has to roll, and the engine runs on production, and that's basically economic activities. So when unemployment is very, very high, it's an indication that the economy, health is questionable.
Mhm.
But when the unemployment is low, then that means that you are active, like you are actually making use of what people who are available or who are in the labor force that want to work. And when you find these opportunities for them, that means that they are